So you want to start making content, but you have no idea where to start. Do I buy a camera? Do I get a new computer? Do I need to buy a $2,000 computer and a $1,000 camera to make it work? The answer is no.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy.
I'm not a guy with millions of subscribers, okay? But what I am is someone who is, or at least was, very interested in learning how to create good content. And I want to make this video just to break down a budget way of being able to get good sounding and good looking content. Number one, okay, and this is the first thing before you start buying anything that you need to do. Number one, you need to figure out what kind of content you actually want to create. Do you want to be a video game streamer where your actual picture of you is a little box in the corner of the screen? Do you want to be a creator that does a documentary type series and you want to capture outside film and audio and do it in a way that looks professional? Do you just want to be a just chatting sort of streamer? That's a very popular thing on Twitch. So maybe that's what you want to do. But first you need to figure out what exactly your goal is. Because if your goal is to be a video game streamer, then you're going to buy different equipment and you're going to have different needs than the content creator that is like vlogging out in the great outdoors in the wild, so to say, tongue twisters. And see, there's no amount of editing that is going to take out the tongue twisters. That's something you're just going to have to know. You got to know your goal. You have to know your goal. Your goal will dictate what kind of equipment you need to get. And so you don't spend your time and your money on all this stuff that really doesn't even apply to you. Now, regardless of whichever goal you have, I would say arguably the most important thing for you to realize is good audio is probably the most important thing when making good content. And maybe audio and lighting are tied. Maybe one is a close first, close second. But I would say for me, at least my opinion, I would say that good audio is for sure the most important thing. Now, if that is true, are you going to have to spend an arm and a leg to get good audio? The answer is no. For between $50 to $100 on Amazon, okay, you can get professional sounding audio. And now people kind of get caught up on, should I get a USB mic or an XLR mic? Really, if you're just starting out and you don't already have an audio interface that will allow you to use an XLR mic, get a USB mic. Okay, it's not that crazy of a difference. For $50 on Amazon, you can get a good USB mic and it will make your audio sound so much better. And at the end of the day, that may be the thing that keeps people watching. Because whether you're a video game streamer or whether you're just chatting or you're a vlogger, you're going to want to have good audio, because a lot of the time with people's attention spans nowadays, they're not going to be watching your video like glued to the screen looking at it. A lot of times they're going to be listening to it like a podcast almost. So you want to make sure first and foremost that your audio is on point, and that can be done very cheaply for about $50, maybe even under, but I would say $50 will get you a good USB sound, a good USB microphone that will sound professional. Now we're going to talk about lighting, which is another super important thing on the visual side of things that I would say is even more important than buying a fancy camera and getting some crazy lens that you think is going to make you look better. Because at the end of the day, lighting in any sort of film context is incredibly crucial. And it's not something everybody thinks about, especially if you're new to creating videos or streaming, etc. But you can get a ring light and a couple of auxiliary lights for, let's see, the ring light I got was like $30. Yeah, $30 ring light, and you can get there's a 2-pack of like auxiliary lights that you can get for like $37, I think. Yeah, $37, and that's for 2. And that's really all you're going to need, especially just starting out. If you're just doing video game streaming, then I would say just get the ring light for $30. There's no reason to get auxiliary lights. If you're going to do something full camera, full screen like this video right now, then I would definitely recommend getting a couple of auxiliary lights to kind of make sure the subject, me in this instance, but the subject is well lit and looks good. And that's more important than getting a good camera. For my setup that I'm shooting this video at right now, I am using just the ring light and one of those auxiliary lights. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say auxiliary. My goodness, you would think that I could say that word knowing the English language, but sometimes it's tough. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent. Lighting. Okay, first address your audio. Get that ironed out. Depending on if you're a video game streamer or if you're doing something full frame, you're going to need at least a ring light. At least a ring light. There's nothing worse than trying to watch a video game streamer where their like face keeps getting lit up and not lit up based on what's on their monitor, on what they're playing. Okay, you want to make sure there's a consistent light source that it's going to illuminate the subject of the video. And it sounds elementary, but it is huge, and it goes a really long way to making professional looking content. Now, part of figuring out what your goal is knowing what your starting point is. Are you a console streamer? Are you a PC streamer? That is a huge question you're going to need to answer for yourself. I've got a lot of friends that want to stream and they are console streamers. Now, I cannot speak to the new generation like PS5 or the Xbox, whatever it is now. I have a PC, so I can't speak on that. But when I first started streaming, I was streaming off of a PS4. Okay, I'm talking Last of Us off the PS4. And what I realized is it's going to be a lot harder for you, especially on the older generation, such as a PS4, Xbox One, to create good streaming content. And that's just because of the limitations you have being on those devices. But what I can tell you is what I figured out through agonizing research is you are going to need a capture card, which looks a little bit like this. Okay, this is the Mirrorbox capture card. It is the budget option on Amazon. I think it was about $40, $30-$40. Okay, you can get an Elgato capture card, which is going to run you closer to like at least $100. I had no problems using this Mirrorbox capture card, and basically how it works is one HDMI is going to go in here. Let's see if the camera can focus on it. Come on, Canon, you can do it. It's trying to focus on me still. There it is. Boom. There's an in and an out. Okay. And you plug one HDMI, obviously, from your console into this. And then you plug another HDMI cable from the device, the Mirrorbox, the capture card, to your laptop or your PC. One thing to note is that if you are a console streamer and you do not have a laptop and you do not have a PC, you are going to be a little bit limited. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to get a webcam showing you on screen. I know I wasn't able to. Maybe there's a way. If there is, it's hidden in the ether because I've looked. Okay, but on a PS4, Xbox One, it's going to be tough to get that webcam on, and it's also going to be tough for you to control chat settings and exactly what shows up on the screen and when. You're pretty much just going to be taking your party audio from your headphone and your headset and using that along with the game audio and what you see on the screen. So it's possible with the PS4, you can indeed stream. You can do it on a laptop. That's what I did. I have a MacBook and I use that to stream. So you can do it on a laptop. You can do it on a PC. So it is possible to do that. If you have a PC, it is going to be a lot easier if that's what you game on. Now, real quick, I do want to touch on softwares. And really, I'm not going to go too deep into this because that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is like purchasing equipment on a budget sort of thing for streaming. And the moral of the story is on software is most of the stuff is pretty much free. I mean, you look at OBS, which is the standard for streaming as far as softwares go. It's incredibly powerful, it is incredibly capable, and it is free. So that's number one. You're going to go ahead and download OBS. You also don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get video editing software. You can use PowerDirector, which is what I use for a lot of video editing, and that's free. What I like about PowerDirector is it has a really nice pre-cut tool to where you can take like a full length clip and pre-cut it, and then it automatically makes it into a new clip, and it's free. Like even iMovie, if you have an Apple product, a MacBook or whatever, I mean, you could do stuff on iMovie. There's free and cheap ways to approach the software side of things, but really OBS, as far as if you're going to be streaming, that'll be the most important software to get. Video editing, you can still get great content out of free programs like PowerDirector or iMovie. Okay, you just need to learn the program, learn the software, and it will serve you even if it is a free software. Now we're going to get on to the part that everybody thinks is the most important, but it's one of the later parts of the video, which should tell you something, and that is your camera, your webcam, etc. Okay, and this is one of the areas where people will dump a ton of money unnecessarily, thinking that that is what they are going to need to make good content, and that simply is not true. Okay, for between $20 to $100, you can get a really good webcam. Okay, and granted, the $20 one probably isn't going to be that great, but if you're willing to spend $100, those $100 webcams are going to be good. And back to your goals, if you are a video game streamer, then you do not need a DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera or any camera like that. All you will need is a webcam, because what you have to keep in mind is you're only going to be like that part of the screen versus like the whole screen. So you're going to be condensed anyways. The HD factor of that, especially if your lighting is good, it's going to be inconsequential. So if you're purely a video game streamer, go ahead and buy that $20, $30 webcam. Okay, and focus on lighting, focus on your audio, because you're going to get farther with those things than you would be if you try to buy an expensive camera. Now, if you are trying to make full frame content, kind of like this, where you have a full wide angle view of someone talking, maybe a documentary type of setting, or any vloggers that want to go out into the wild and film out there, you might want to get a camera. I would say focus on all the other things first and decide truly if that is what you want to pursue. Because the thing is, this is where it gets expensive, is buying a camera. The camera I use is a Canon M200. Okay, it's a mirrorless camera. I think retail, like straight from Canon, you're going to be getting it for like $500. Okay, I got it on eBay used for like $300, but still that is a sizable investment. If And this is only if you are trying to go down that route of using another tongue twister, DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera like the M200. A thing you have to realize is it needs to have a clean HDMI out. Okay, it's literally, that's what it's called. It's called clean HDMI out. Because if you don't have this feature of a clean HD out, you are going to get the menu settings like you would see on a normal camera showing up all over the screen. You're going to be seeing the ISO, the shutter speed, all this stuff, exposure that you don't want to see on the screen. You want to have a clean output, so all you're seeing is what the camera is looking at. So please, 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 if you are going to buy a camera, make sure in the specifications it has a clean output HDMI wise. Okay, and it's going to have its own HDMI port or mini HDMI port to be able to plug into the camera. Okay, that's very important. Also, if you are going to be using a camera for long-term videos and or streams, you're going to need to get a power supply. Because essentially if you just use a battery, which has happened to me a lot, and frankly, I still do this all the time, but your battery in your camera will run out and then you won't get a picture on the screen because your camera is out of battery. The solution to this is getting an external power source that plugs, it's basically a dummy battery that plugs into an outlet, and then you can literally put it into the camera. It's like a fake battery that you put in there, and it constantly provides power to that camera. So that's kind of what you're going to need to know, both with the clean HDMI output and with the power supply, if you are indeed trying to use a like quote unquote professional mirrorless or a DSLR camera for your content. Again, I want to stress, if you are a video game streamer, it is way overkill to get a camera over $100. It just is extreme overkill. I mean, you look at a guy like Charlie with Moist Critical. He is extremely successful, and he's a guy that his production value as far as like his equipment is probably pretty low. I mean, I've seen this dude plug in the old school Apple buds with the cord on them with the little mic right here, and he's still making bangers. He's still making really good content. So really you should focus on a lot of other things before buying a bunch of this stuff, especially cameras, when you get into the expensive range of, like, even for me buying this Canon M200 used for $300, that's a sizable investment. Okay, that is a sizable investment. You should really consider other options before trying to make that purchase, in my opinion. Okay, so in conclusion, you don't need a bunch of expensive equipment to at least get started, okay? I think if we summed up the cheapest options for audio, lighting, and cameras, webcams, I think if I check my notes here, and that's another thing, always take notes on whatever you're doing, but we're looking at under $200 totally. That includes webcam, lighting, and audio as far as your mic. Okay, and that's as far as budget options on a bundle set. We're talking Amazon whatever, the knockoff brands. That's pretty damn good. And I think as a word of advice for someone who went down the rabbit hole of wanting to make their stream, their content look as good as possible, start with the cheapest stuff first, okay? And play with it for a while. Really master your lighting. Really learn OBS and get kind of acquainted with your softwares, your editing programs, before buying more expensive equipment that won't necessarily solve your problems that you're experiencing. Maybe you just need a little bit more time streaming and making content, because guess what? Everybody's first couple clips and videos that they make are terrible. You look at any great streamer nowadays, any great content creator, they came from a place of making bad content, because that's how it goes. You learn. So you better learn on the cheap stuff than trying to buy and, go into credit card debt, getting all this professional equipment, and then a month later, you don't even want to do it anymore. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I will probably make more videos focused on the technical side of like OBS, the software, maybe even like different lighting angles. I know there's a ton of videos out there that go over how you should kind of set up your lighting, and they're probably going to do a lot better job than I would on that. But this video was just meant to be an overview of how truly it could be cheap to at least get started. And whether you're trying to gain a ton of subscribers and make YouTube a living for you, or whether you just want to have a creative output. Like for me personally, this is just a creative output. I have no expectations of making any money off of this. I just find it fun. And I think anytime you can really dig into a creative output, whether it's music or filmmaking or streaming, you should pursue it, because it's healthy and it's probably good for you, right? I think so. But I appreciate you guys watching, and until the next video, sayonara, hasta luego, and buenos noches.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.